Alrighty. Huh. So, so what is on my mind today is a very common experience that I see clinically in my therapy room, as well as personally with my own life and with friends and family that I see. It's very common just with people. And that is this experience of wondering, how long do I need to do the special thing before I can go back to the life I want? Let me use an example. If you follow this channel long enough, you know that I have had sleep issues, and every time I get my sleep issues under control, eventually either it happens or the temptation to go back to old ways creeps back in. And so how that might look is, for me personally, I know that getting off my phone a couple hours before bed is helpful. Closer to sleeping within an hour or so, having dim lighting, reading a book that's not super stimulating and engaging, journaling or stretching, as well as, for me, honestly, not eating a meal or snacks within 3 hours of bed. Sometimes I'll have an evening like decaf coffee or tea, and that's it. Going to bed at roughly the same time, waking up at roughly the same time every day. These are just genuinely helpful, and I can afford to not do them sometimes. But after so many days in a row, they just become a problem when I'm not following them. So they don't become a problem, I do. And I see this a lot with people. And I want you to think about maybe any habit you have. There are certain things that, like, once you spend enough time in it, you just learn it and you're good to go, right? And when it comes with health and taking care of yourself, there's a lot of habits that they stop being useful the moment we stop. Now, it doesn't mean we haven't accumulated health. So, for instance, someone who is learning an instrument, you learn and do a little bit every day, and then you stop practicing. You're not necessarily going to get worse, maybe a little bit, but as long as you pick the instrument up and play a little bit from time to time, you'll be all right. Or if you put the instrument down for long enough, you might actually forget. Sometimes it's like riding a bike. Other times you're like, we hear this all the time. I played it in middle school, or I played it in high school or elementary, and people don't know the instrument anymore. Whereas a sport, there's maybe a little bit more muscle memory, but we have areas of life where if you've been investing money, you invest for 10 years and you stop putting money in your investments, they'll still likely grow, right? Just not at the same exponential compounding rate. But with your health, yes, every day that you choose health gives you life back. And you can't really take that. But you can make a lot more votes for damage to life. So, somebody who drank for 20 years aggressively, yeah, you might have done a lot of damage to your body. But the healing you can do, the positive choices you can make for the rest of your life will still increase the chances of a longer and healthier life if you start today versus never starting and just saying, oh, well, I already wasted it, so what does it matter? With health, a lot of the decisions are day to day and how we sustain. We see this a lot with people who stop taking medication. They say, well, I'm feeling better, I don't need the medication. It's like, maybe, but what's the medication doing in the first place? So, for instance, when people come to therapy to see me, this is particularly true with anxiety medications and antidepressants, and sometimes stimulants like people might be on for ADHD. Now, a lot of these are mostly useful when you are accompanying them with therapy, where a lot of people can, over time, especially with their psychiatrists or PharmD recommendation there, and can start to maybe wean off or lower doses and maybe fully wean off. I don't personally believe that the goal for a lot of medication should be lifelong usage. However, you do have situations of people with schizophrenia or bipolar, and there's a question of how much are we really going to reduce the need for it when we have these long-term mental illnesses. And that's true for physiological ailments as well. Are we just taking this to feel better for a while, like pain relief drugs and medication? Is it just to get through to this moment and we'll slowly wean off? Or do you need to take this for life now, right? So these questions really do matter. But what I have found is most people just want to get back to doing the joyful parts of life or things that make them happy. So they have a tendency to just look for every excuse to not do the things that they know are healthy and helpful. And it's because they want to do something fun, right? I mean, for me, I like to stay up late. And a lot of my friend group stays up late. And I can afford a little bit of that, but not regularly. I mean, if I want to occasionally stay up late, watch a movie or play a game with some friends, no problem. But if I start doing that every single night, it just really jacks up my sleep. And it messes up my next day, makes me more prone to anxiety and irritability and just not liking life as much. Ironic, right? Because the idea there is, well, I'm doing the thing I want. And what's interesting is we really have to ask what we want. So someone who says, well, I want to drink and I want to play video games and scroll on TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, and just do whatever I want. And if you ask them, are you willing to do that in exchange for feeling like garbage all the time? Someone might say no. So what I'd say is what you actually want is to not feel like garbage. Like that's actually more important to you than these things. And they might say yes. So now we have a little bit of a dilemma. And so I think the issue that a lot of people run into is, what do you actually want more? And, at the end of the day, I want to look back at my life and enjoy my life and feel like I took care of myself. I also want to have moments that are fun, where that does mean staying up late. And that doesn't mean necessarily pressing into vices. I don't want to live a life where I'm getting drunk ever. It's not something I believe in. It's not something that I find healthy or useful in really any scenario. So I don't want to look back at that. I don't mind looking back. And actually, I'd say I want to look back at times and see where I made exceptions of like, hey, I'm going to stay up late and spend time with someone I care about. I'm going to do, like a late night ice cream run with my wife or my kids in the future and not be so religious and nitpicky about these things. But for me, if I did that every night, it would just dysregulate, right? It's the same way that we all have to work and make a living. And we go on vacations or we have weekends, most people. And so if you did that all the time, though, bills wouldn't get paid. So some of these things have to happen with little give and take. So I just want to encourage myself and anyone listening that the things that you know are good for you, do them. And really look for any excuse to do them. So particularly when you're just on your own or by yourself, right? Like for instance, Monday nights for me, as I've said here before, are late nights. So typically I work past 9:00 on a lot of Monday nights. It's just how that works for my life. And it's very rare that I do anything with anyone after work on a Monday. I think the last time I had anything planned with anyone was a friend that was in town in November, today being April. It's just super rare. And that was like, okay, this is the only time we're going to have to meet up while you're in town. So what that means is there's pretty much no example of other people pulling at my time on Mondays. So I should wind down healthily and appropriately on Monday. And what's within my control is how I do that. Am I eating and snacking late? Am I chugging coffee close to bed? Or even within a few hours of bed? Am I going home and scrolling or having the TV on? Like I control that night. Versus for me, Wednesday nights are often later nights with friends. So I'd rather leave it open for that when it's relational and connecting, or a different time or an event, right? Same with people who work on their diet. If it's just a normal day, you should eat really strictly within your diet. So that way when a holiday like yesterday, which was Easter, comes around, maybe you don't stress out as much. Like just enjoy it. And maybe your body can afford it depending on what the diet is and your health. Maybe your body can afford that one day because you've taken really good care of it on average every day. So yeah, just sticking with what you know to be good and useful and helpful is actually really important. And it's both extremely easy to do and very tempting to not do. And then so ironically, it is just a stay the course situation. Like keep doing it and things will be okay. And don't lie to yourself that, well, I don't really need this, do I? And really look for excuses not to make excuses. Like really push through that. And if you can build tolerance towards a little bit of that discomfort and constant reminder of, I'm doing this because I know, or at least I believe, that this gets me to a better overall life. So, yeah, something to think about, and I think it's useful. So, happy April, happy Monday, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.